Now, the impact of growing global tensions now reaching U.S. airlines. American Airlines and United both suspending some international routes as a precaution, they say. Now, Fort Worth-based American has put flights between Doha, Qatar, and Philadelphia on hold until Sunday.
Something strange is happening in American skies, and it's not turbulence. It's a retreat. Foreign airlines, national giants with decades of exposure to the U.S. market, are quietly backing away. Not all at once, not with headlines, but methodically, route by route, terminal by terminal. They are exiting the largest travel economy on Earth, and no one in Washington seems to be asking why. This October, Iceland's Play Airlines will shut down all U.S. operations. Not delay, not scale back, shut down. Every transatlantic route to Boston, Baltimore, and Stewart Airport in New York, gone. The airline is also ceasing service to Canada, effectively abandoning the North American market it spent years building. And they're doing it in silence. At the same time, Air Canada is eliminating 5 U.S. routes for the winter and cutting 30 domestic ones. It's also pulling out of 8 regional airports entirely, including Detroit, Indianapolis, Minneapolis, Nashville, and Tampa. These aren't experimental routes. These are major arteries for cross-border travel, now being severed with surgical precision. Before we continue, hit that like button to support the channel and help us beat the YouTube algorithm. This isn't a protest. There are no sanctions, no bans, no political standoffs driving these cuts. On paper, these are voluntary boardroom decisions. But that's what makes it more alarming. When major airlines stop chasing American travelers, it's not about ideology, it's about profitability. And what that says about the U.S. right now is louder than any government briefing. The retreat is accelerating. Play Airlines may be the most visible example, but Air Canada is cutting even deeper. WestJet is reallocating its transborder aircraft to Europe. Porter and Flair are trimming U.S. links. Across the Atlantic, Lufthansa and Air France are quietly reducing capacity into the U.S. Booking data shows a 2% plus drop on key European routes into America. Meanwhile, Canadians continue to boycott trips south. Cross-border travel by both air and car was down significantly in May, and that's just the public data. These aren't budget airlines trying to save fuel. These are state-backed legacy carriers, companies that have weathered oil shocks, volcanic eruptions, and global pandemics. And now they're losing confidence in the U.S. as a core market. The shift isn't emotional, it's mathematical. Canadian bookings into the U.S. have collapsed. In some key markets, the year-over-year decline exceeds 70%, even 76%. That's hundreds of thousands of seats being wiped off schedules. Air Canada alone has removed over 300,000 U.S.-bound seats from its capacity. European data is flashing similar warning signs. Lufthansa executives have publicly admitted that U.S. demand has plateaued. In response, they're planning a meaningful reduction in transatlantic flights. The global aviation industry is adjusting, reallocating long-haul aircraft to Asia and intra-Europe routes, where demand is stable and growth is reliable. These shifts aren't caused by weather or political drama. They're structural. Don't forget to subscribe if you want more deep-dive reporting like this. Airlines don't wait for politicians to figure things out. When bookings collapse, they cancel. When margins shrink, they walk away. And right now, the United States is being seen not as a growth market, but as a risk. According to OAG data, Canadian carriers alone have pulled more than 320,000 U.S.-bound seats through October 2025. Forward bookings have plunged over 70%. The math simply doesn't work anymore. These airlines aren't cutting out of fear. They're cutting because there's no longer a profit in staying. And this isn't just about airlines. It's about cities, hotels, and local economies. In Buffalo, New York, once a major hub for cross-border travelers, hotel revenue is down by double digits. In Seattle and Detroit, retail spending in airport zones has dropped more than 12%. In Tampa, international gates are going dark for months at a time. Flights aren't just being reduced. They're disappearing. Entire terminal operations are being wound down. Joint investments with foreign carriers are being shelved. Real estate contracts are being broken. And it's all happening without any official statement from the U.S. government. There's no press release when an airport becomes obsolete, but the lights going out are visible from the tarmac. Some airports are being hit harder than others. Stewart Airport in New York, for example, had one remaining transatlantic link, Play Airlines to Iceland. With that route now canceled, Stewart loses its last international flight. The global airline retreat from the U.S. isn't theory, it's happening. Quietly, systematically, and without policy response. And the longer it goes unnoticed, the deeper the consequences will be. Its customs wing sits empty. Its international terminal is quiet. This isn't just lost tourism, it's lost payroll, lost hotel tax, lost airport revenue. And these losses ripple through every layer of the economy. Fewer flights mean fewer travelers. That means fewer rental cars, fewer dinners out, fewer museum tickets sold. It means fewer housekeepers working shifts, fewer bellhops getting tips, fewer taxi drivers picking up passengers. It means millions in missing tourism tax revenue for cities that budgeted for visitors who are no longer coming. It also puts pressure on local currencies. It weakens the dollar regionally, and it squeezes airport authorities who spent billions expanding terminals based on the assumption that international carriers would keep coming. Now they're quietly walking away. Meanwhile, U.S. carriers are still flying outbound. Delta and United report strong bookings to Europe. American demand is holding. Americans are still traveling. But the balance is gone. International aviation depends on flow, inbound and outbound. You can't sustain one without the other. And when foreign airlines pull back, the entire system starts to wobble. That's exactly what we're watching unfold, in real time. So, where are those planes going? WestJet has already redeployed over 100 transatlantic flights to Europe, expanding service to Dublin and Edinburgh. Air Canada is shifting aircraft to domestic and EU-bound routes. Lufthansa and its Star Alliance partners are trimming long-haul U.S. service by up to 15%, redirecting jets to India and Southeast Asia. Even Middle Eastern carriers are stepping in. Emirates, Qatar Airways, Turkish Airlines, all expanding into the U.S. Not to balance demand, but to exploit the void. What a difference 2 years makes. In front of the Emirati flag and President Trump, trade and defense agreements once celebrated as billion-dollar breakthroughs now feel like afterthoughts. This is no longer just about flight logistics. It's a geopolitical shift on the aviation chessboard. U.S. airports are turning into ghost terminals. Cities that once thrived on international traffic are now watching customs desks gather dust. This retreat isn't a reaction, it's a repositioning. And it's not temporary. Middle Eastern and Asian carriers are capitalizing. Emirates and Qatar Airways are adding frequencies. Turkish Airlines is building new connections across Europe and Asia that completely bypass U.S. hubs. Chinese carriers are rebuilding their long-haul networks, but not toward the U.S. Their focus is shifting towards Southeast Asia, Africa, and BRICS-aligned economies. What we're witnessing is the systematic removal of the United States from the core of global aviation. And rebuilding that status, once lost, takes years, sometimes decades. This collapse isn't the result of a new policy. It's not about retaliation or diplomatic fallout. These are corporate decisions, based on boardroom math, cold calculations showing that America is no longer worth the risk. And that's what makes it so hard to fix. If a government passes a tariff, it can repeal it. If a president imposes a ban, a new administration can reverse it. But when a company quietly exits a market, it leaves behind a vacancy no politician can fill. There is no negotiation, no settlement, only absence. And that's what we're facing. Because this goes deeper than tourism or air travel. Fewer international flights mean less business connectivity, fewer in-person deals, fewer academic exchanges, fewer diplomatic summits, fewer global eyes on American cities. It means less economic gravity pulling in international dollars. And all of it has a cost. As the U.S. aviation footprint shrinks, the rest of the world adjusts. Airline networks reconfigure, supply chains redirect, investment follows the routes with the most access. And when those routes skip the United States, capital does too. The country that once defined global mobility is quietly becoming a flyover zone. And if that trend continues, the broader consequences won't be measured in ticket sales, they'll be measured in lost influence. Because when the world stops landing in your cities, it eventually stops listening to them.